Yeah.
What's up, Sarge? How you doing?
No food or drinks.
Are you getting the memo? They're already.
Would you like to get started?
Yeah, let me go to the front and off, please.
Answer a few questions afterwards, but my understanding it was difficult for everybody to hear.
Couldn't hear things.
Mr. Harden and Mr. Peterson are still upstairs. They're meeting with adult probation. Obviously, he'll come down after a few minutes after me. It's probably nothing that there's no error for me saying that, but just kind of let you know what the protocol is. So I'll kind of move into my comments. Today, Mr. Peterson pled no contest to the Class A misdemeanor offense of assault. It's Class A. It was a 2 years of deferred adjudication. The maximum fine is $4,000. 80 hours of community service have to be done through a public service announcement. Parenting classes, parenting assessment to be done by adult probation. Classes to be determined by the judge. No travel restrictions on Mr. Peterson, but otherwise normal conditions of probation on this case. So does anybody have any questions?
What are your thoughts on it?
The probation is a 2-year deferred adjudication.
What happens to marijuana?
The plea today takes care of everything that was pending before the court.
What are your thoughts on that?
Case is finished now.
Well, it's not finished. If you're Mr. Peterson, now you've got 2 years of probation. And so as far as the district attorney's office involved, when you take a plea, you're basically signing a contract with the court. And you're saying that you're going to follow the rules of the court and the rules of the state of Texas. The basic rules are follow the rules of probation and don't commit any other violations against this state, any other state, or the United States. And so when you say it's over, actually it's just the beginning. And so Mr. Peterson has a long way to go in regards to making sure that he satisfactorily completes the probation. This case has been about a 3-year-old child and their privacy. And if I would say one thing, I have a single mother in Minnesota who is raising a child, and she's doing an excellent job. As you'll notice, she has stayed out of the public. She hasn't made any comments in the public, nor has she requested anything to be done in the public. And so I would ask on her behalf, she's a very intelligent young lady, and she's doing a great job under a difficult set of circumstances. So I know that y'all will do the good job that y'all do, which is please allow them to have some peace. As professionals, Mr. Hard and I are kind of thrown into this. Mr. Peterson's conduct brought him here, but as far as the family, I'd ask on their behalf to be left alone.
Is there a fine, Brett? Is there a fine, did you say?
$4,000 fine.
How did y'all get to this point? How did y'all get here?
Well, plea negotiations obviously are confidential. They should have been confidential, but in regards to what the value of the case is, this is something that the grand jury took very seriously into consideration. Texas is a corporal punishment state. I can tell you on behalf of the grand jury that reviewed it, even though I can't say what they spoke about, the collateral consequences of Mr. Peterson, I know, weighed heavily on their mind, as well as the fact that everybody there had been disciplined as a child. And so their binding this case over, I think, was a reflection of that they felt that this went beyond what was reasonable in regards to being a parent. I believe that Mr. Peterson is accepting responsibility, willing to take the parenting classes. On behalf of the family, I'm looking forward to him taking that kind of a role as a responsible parent.
Are you pleased with what was worked out today?
You know, I mean, this is part of the job. I think if anybody walks away pleased with a plea, they're not being entirely honest. Part of a plea is negotiating on behalf. Everybody doesn't get what they want, but I will say on behalf of the mom in Minnesota, this is exactly consistent with what she wanted. She did not want to return. Me and Mr. Harden both love the First Amendment, but this is somewhat of a circus. This is not anything that a young lady with a young child would want to be interjected into. And so she has fought the whole time to keep her child out of this. And so, am I pleased on her behalf? Yes, I am.
After 2 years, will it convict?
Brett, where
Does
will
he
you
have to have
serve
drug
his
tested
community
regularly?
service?
His community service will be a combination of the public service announcement, 40 hours of which will have to be dealing with child discipline, child safety issues. Part of it is to make a positive out of what otherwise could have been a very ugly situation. Because of the situation, the nation's attention is focused on parenting well. And so part of it is to make sure that the PSA speaks to that. The other 40 hours will be done through the community, through the adult probation.
Texas or Minneapolis?
Community service will be done here.
How many community service ads?
80 hours of community service. half of which will be done through a PSA or several PSAs, but about 40 hours worth.
What would the other half be done?
It'll have to be done at the discretion of adult probation. And so what we've asked is that we've asked that the court continue to make sure that the community service is done in such a manner that it reflects positively on child safety issues.
Well, he has to have continued.
Conditions?
Yes, absolutely. Under 4212, the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, there are standard conditions. All of y'all can Google it. If you type in 42.12, Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, you'll see the standard conditions of probation, Jeremy. And one of them is to avoid injurious and vicious habits. And so randomized drug testing would be the condition of any probation.
Brett, from
Did he
the
take one
beginning,
today?
You talked about modifying behavior.
Yes.
This didn't go to trial. At what point did you say this is the best outcome? And at what point do you think you will get to that original goal of behavior modification?
It's the discussions that I've had obviously are confidential in nature. However, we've been very consistent, which is behavior modification. This was not put Mr. Peterson in prison. Mr. Peterson, when y'all leave and I'm done, Mr. Peterson will still be a father to a 4-year-old child. And so parental classes were in the best interest of the child. And so it had nothing to do with some of the other goals that are sometimes that you seek to accomplish through the criminal system. The probation by itself is usually about behavior modification.
So what is this reckless? I mean, is it reckless?
The reckless is just a mens rea. The way that we indicted is we were proving that the intent, he didn't do it intentionally. This was a reckless offense, and so all it does is reflect the same thing that we had on the felony, was that the mental state was that there was a likelihood that this would happen, and a reasonable person would see that it happened, and they went beyond that and continued to engage in the behavior.
Can he see the child now?
Assault family member.
Yes.
He can have contact with the child
Yes,
now?
absolutely. The mother wants him to have contact with the child.
Why not make it assault family member? Why just make it assault?
It's a Class A, it's a domestic violence offense, and so it's the lesser included that we're given under the statute. Okay? I appreciate your time. And a kid, my concerns about trial typically dealt with what their feelings were and what were their ability to kind of process what was going on. It makes me a poor public speaker. I should have introduced myself. My name is Brett Ligon, B-R-E-T-T-L-I-G-O-N, and I'm the elected district attorney of Montgomery County. This has been my case from the beginning. This case has only been presented to one grand jury the entire time. I know that's been reported a little bit differently. I presented it to the grand jury. We presented it over several weeks, but it was only presented to one grand jury.
Did he get special treatment because he's an athlete?
That's a great question. Was he given special treatment because he was an athlete? I believe this is the value of the case that we had initially. The people who deal with these type of cases on a professional level would tell you that this is within the range, and I think that I wouldn't be doing my professional best on behalf of the state of Texas if I didn't continue to look at what the best interests of the child were. And so if you'll see, the probation is all about making him a better parent, because when this is over with and when you're gone, I still have a parent who's still going to be a father to a 4-year-old kid. And so do I think he got treated any differently? Perhaps by the media, but not by the attorneys involved.
Right, was there sense that there's a
In my conversations with Peterson, I think you saw the same thing. He never ducked what the incident was. He was entirely cooperative with law enforcement the entire time. As to his remorse, I'm sure Mr. Harden will address those issues. I try to stay in my lane. My issues are, seek justice on behalf of the victim, and I believe that we've done so.
So all the details worked out by you guys, and the judge play a role in this?
The judge has the ability to withdraw a plea, but these were the terms and conditions as negotiated between Mr. Harden and myself.
Are you convinced?
Yes. Hey.
Adrian, come on. We're just going to have just a few comments. Adrian will have a couple of comments, and then we won't be taking any questions. We're going to head out. I want to say that I think this is a very fair and just resolution of this thing. This is a very complicated issue socially, but it was very simple from our standpoint. Adrian, the facts have never been in controversy. Adrian has always said he very much regretted and hated what happened as far as the injury. He has always accepted responsibility for it, and today was a step forward and another step forward in that situation. I I want to thank and congratulate the DA's office in this matter. They were always incredibly professional with us. They had the courage to do what was right, no matter what the different groups might think. And for that, I say thank you. Adrian wants to get on with his life and have his relationship with his son and get back to playing football. And I want to remind everything the same thing I said the last time I was here. This is the same man he was before all of this happened. He's not only a very good man, he's a very good father, and he wants to move on to prove that and live his life. And I hope everybody will recognize that our society has always rewarded those who admit mistakes, apologize, and move forward. And it should be no different for Adrian Peterson. Thank y'all very much. We're extremely happy with this outcome. And Adrian, you have whatever you want to say.
Yeah. I want to say, I truly regret this incident. I stand here and I take full responsibility for my actions. I love my son more than any one of you could even imagine. And I'm looking forward to, and I'm anxious to continue my relationship with my child. I'm just glad this is over. I can put this behind me, and me and my family can begin to move forward. Thank you. Adrian, any word on you returning to the football field this season?
All of that is in the hands of the NFL. Y'all take it to take it.
Both of us. There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
God bless you. Adrian, what's the word from the NFL, sir?
Good job, Adrian.
Thanks, Adrian.
Is he going to get back on the field soon?
Billy, stop traveling, Adrian.
Yeah. Adrian, find out what the world of line is anyway. Does anybody know what the story on that guy is?
I don't know.
He was here
the high school mascot.
He was here the last.
Let's go, guys.
Hey, wait, guys, we got to get back on the field. We got to get across the street. Let's go. Let's go. We got to get across the street.
All right.
Let's go.
Y'all take care.
Thanks, Rush.
See you Thursday?
Yep.
Dude,
Okay, good.
you know I still love you.
You say that.